Hello, my name's Chris Caesar. I'm a professional landscape photographer based out of my studios here in Scrooby. Welcome to this, the final episode of my season 3, 4 seasons in print. This is winter. So if you've not watched any of these episodes before, very briefly, I look at 20 images, 5 from each of the seasons, and then talk about the inspirations maybe behind the image, how I made it, why it appeals to me. And then I look at paper, choice of paper, why I've chosen a paper to print that particular picture on. I'm an ambassador for the Canson Infinity range of fine art paper. So everything you see here in this series and series 1 and 2, all printed on Canson Infinity media. And everything has also been printed using a Canon Pro-300 A3 Plus pigment ink printer. The Canon printer, I can't stress enough how superb it is. If you're looking to do prints up to A3 Plus, the A3 Plus Pro 300 from Canon, with its fantastic matte blank ink and dedicated inks like red, it can reproduce accurately any artwork or photography on these fine art papers. For the money, it's an absolute steal. Obviously, the drawback is you can go up to A3 Plus. So if you want to do a 30 by 20 inch print or an A1 print, then obviously you're going to have to sort that out somewhere else. But if you're working up to A3 Plus, which is a great size certainly for people who aren't selling work, and even if you're selling work, you can do A3 Plus, A3, A4, 3 decent sizes that people buy. But it's the way that the printer handles these papers and the way that the inks go down on these papers that's really, really impressive. So bear in mind, Pro 300 printer, Canson Infinity range of fine art papers. So let's get going with this final episode, which is winter. So the first picture I want to chat to you about today is this one. This is called Fire in the Sky Rome. This is from one of the Rome workshops. One of the little sessions where I, again, chat to people about what we're looking at. And even though we stood on a bridge looking at a very famous thing, there are different places you can stand on the bridge. There are different things you can put in the picture. There's different amounts of sky and foreground and where you're going to zoom from, where you're going to finish. Are you going to do a close-up? Are you going to do a wide angle? Lots of things to consider. But on this day, we actually started off on another bridge looking back this way down the river towards the Vatican. And we made this lovely shot at blue hour because it didn't look like there was going to be a sunrise. So we put all our eggs into the blue hour basket, but I knew we could always get to this bridge within a couple of minutes in case things changed. So we shot the blue hour and we noticed it was kind of doing this. And, the hope was if the sun got up and kind of got under these clouds, it might do something similar to this. So we quickly moved on to this bridge for this sunrise, and the sunrise didn't disappoint. It started to fire up. It was really, really powerful, but we had to wait, really, because for me, if this isn't lit, the Hadrian's Mausoleum, then there's no shot. So it was a case of waiting for the sun to get high enough to catch that, hoping that the colour would stay here, because before this was a little bit more coloured, but this was in darkness. So you can't have everything in life. So we've got some repetitions going down, some reflections down here in the water. But it's a simple shot up the river, across the bridge, with the mausoleum here, and a fantastic sky to finish it off. It's full of darks and warmth and brighter areas, but it's mainly all about warmth and drama, passion, which fits in with Rome, really. So for this one, I've gone with the Baryta Prestige II. The paper that I keep saying I tend to fall back on when I want to get the drama that I felt at the time down on the sheet of the paper that the people are looking at, if that makes sense. So by using this paper, I can get a result that's full of all that contrast that was there, all that dramatic sort of character that the light was putting into this particular composition. And it's a real addition to the actual composition itself, the way that this paper handles the colours. And the printer, the fact the printer can do this with the ink set that it's got is testament to the printer as well. This is a really powerful, beautiful print, full of drama and colour and life. And it's a really, really, really sort of special picture to me, because when I do landscape photography, if somebody says, what is it you want to do? I've always wanted to capture wide scenes, whether I'm stood on a moorland, on a beach, on a bridge in Rome. I've always wanted to capture the vista in front of me with what I see with my own eyes, that kind of angle of view, and get it all in with the drama that's there. So this kind of shot is exactly what floats my boat. This is why after 20 years I still take people to Venice and Rome and the Lake District and Scotland and the Yorkshire coast. And this is still why I get up at, we're not talking about summer. We don't want to talk about sunrises in summer. But in winter, like here, we might have met at, this might be a 7, 10 a.m. sunrise. So we've probably got there, we would be here. If this was the shot, we'd be here about 6:30, chatting, setting up. So all those early starts, it's because of results like this, where I get to see that drama that I've always wanted to try and capture with my camera. So that's the first picture, Fire in the Sky Rome, made on the Baryta Prestige II. Okay, so this is the second picture in the winter episode. And this is another picture from Rome, from a different workshop. This is from about 4 or 5 years ago, with a couple of guys who are now friends. And we went one afternoon. It was a bit of a weird day, as you can tell from the sky, but we went up to Piazza del Popolo. And after some dramatic scenes in a cafe with a dodgy coffee, we came out to get in position to make this shot, and the sun was somewhere about this high. And we ended up with some amazing sunbursts and sun rays over the Vatican and all sorts. But before that, we got this kind of thing going on, where we've got this heavy sky breaking up, allowing some lighter areas to come through, causing this really dramatic kind of thing that we've got here. You can see the lights are on, so it's getting dark, I suppose, and it makes a lovely monochrome conversion. We've got the obelisk here. I think this is one of the obelisks that used to be in the Circus Maximus, where they used to do the chariot racing. There were 2, and they put one in here, I'm sure they did. But this one, it just points you up through the image and brings you straight to this area here of, where all the action's happening. And yet we're passing all these people of Rome and all these cars and the buildings and all sorts. We've got some interest here. We've got some people in these lit areas down at the bottom. So it's a really nice monochrome shot for me of Rome. So I wanted to try something different with this. This is a print where I would normally use the Baryta Prestige II or the Platine Fibre Rag, but I wanted to try again another print on this paper, which is the smooth gloss, the Baryta Photographique II. So you can see it's a gloss, and it's incredibly smooth. There's ever such a slight surface on it, but it's the smoothest of all the Canson Infinity gloss papers. So as I said before, if you're looking for a smooth gloss that doesn't break the bank, price-wise, this one sits just under the sort of Prestiges and the Platines. So it sits just under them, but it's a beautiful paper. It's purely photographic. It's got a really long lifespan. And the prints, the reproduction on the prints is really, really good. So phenomenal detail, fantastic depth of field, range of tones, D-max is what I'm trying to say. And just a really, really nice finish. So if you're wanting a traditional photographic print that hasn't got any speckles, Baryta Photographique II is the one that you should consider. So that's image 2 in the winter episode. Okay, so this is the third image in the winter series episode of this series 3. This is Filey again. So this is the second picture I've shown from Filey. And we go here a lot. We've actually got a place up here on the Crescent. So it's a lovely, unspoilt, quiet place. Just really nice. Nice people, nice cafes, some nice places to eat, and some fantastic massive beaches to walk on. But it's nice to take the camera out some mornings. And this is a shot I made one day from a little place called Country Park that looks back down on Filey. And it was a bit of a hazy morning. The sun obviously is out at sea shining on Filey. And I needed this area to be lit. I needed to wait for the sun. So quite often when I'm by water, I might make a shot before sunup. Certainly on the Yorkshire coast, places like Whitby, Saltwick Bay. But here I wanted to capture a warmth on the actual village town of Filey itself. So we've got this lovely little glow going on in the sky. Some interesting stuff down here with the waves. I've had people say to me, what did you do to the water? And I say, well, what do you mean? And they think I've somehow sculpted this and crafted it. Yeah, but hey-ho, if that's what people think. But this is just the way the waves lap in. But you can see we've got water up here, we've got a little man somewhere over here and some birds. But just a lovely view of Filey in the early morning warm light. And I could have printed this on anything. I don't have any preset thoughts when I come to look at how this might print and what it might print on. So I've just decided to just go for a smooth matte paper. Why not? Partly because of this sky. This just smooth, one smooth area of that one colour that seems to be there. And I thought, do you know what, let's just go with that. Let's leave that as it is. So I've gone for a matte paper. And this is the Arch 88 again, the smooth matte, pure white, no optical brightness. Lovely. Just captured all the warmth. It's got plenty of tonal range. It's just done a good job. If I'd printed it on the Platine Fibre Rag with the slightly satin finish, it would have looked fantastic as well. But no, I'm quite happy with that. I think it's a nice marriage for it, but it's because of this sky that I did pick the Arch 88 in the end. So there you go. That's a little picture of Filey, which is the third image in the winter episode. Okay, so here's the fourth image in this winter episode of the video. And this is a picture made on the birthday trip for one of my friends when we went up to Northumberland a couple of years ago. And on one afternoon, the light was looking a little bit iffy. So we decided to just go down onto Bamborough Beach, that area, just to see what was happening and whether we could make any images, something a bit different. And we ended up walking right down the beach away from the castle towards sea houses. And when we got to this bit, I and a couple of other guys, we clambered up this little dune and they went off searching this way, see what they could find. And I stayed here. And luckily, as I climbed one of these areas here, came round the corner, the sun came out, which was a pleasant surprise. The sun doesn't always come out. You guys who do landscapes or wildlife or anything to do with the outside, you know that it's often the conditions aren't exactly what we want, which is why we go time and time again to similar places or the same place. And so when the sun came out on this one, I was really pleased. And it was just a case of finding an angle that would work. So I wobbled around my little thing. So I'm on top of one of these areas here. So I'm just walking around. And I tried to sort of make sure that this lit area of dune was surrounded by dark, really. Which would then sort of give it a border rather than sort of finishing the picture here within sort of the sunlit area. I wanted to separate it from the shadow to show that this is indeed a patch of light. The result's quite nice. We've got a wedge of light here, and we've also got a little wedge of light over there. So we've got two wedges of light in the middle. The rest of the image, there's this lovely balance of light to it. So we've got all the light across the middle. We've got a dark bit across the top, a dark bit across the bottom and down the side. So the light is really nicely balanced. And balance is one of the things that I talk about a lot on the residential workshops. Composition is all about balance, and there are many ways that we can try and balance up a picture, you know, the way we sort of position things within the picture, the elements that we're trying to shoot, figure out where we're going to put them so that they kind of get along with each other and they work within the finished image, and the result is quite balanced and pleasing to look at. So one of the sort of quick tests you can do to see if your image is composed nicely and it has balance is just to look at it and be honest and just think, is this nice to look at? If it's nice to look at, then it's probably balanced. And I like looking at this one. You know, I like the way it's all set up. I like the way the light's working. So it's a nice little image, some lovely warmth here in the grasses, some lovely contrasting cool tones as well. So it's quite a dynamic little shot. So I thought it might be a good test for another one of the papers from the guys at St Cuthbert's Mill. This is a paper called Somerset Enhanced Velvet. And this is another of the cylinder mould made papers, just like the watercolour, Somerset watercolour we looked at earlier. This fits in with the Arche range of matte papers from Canson, and it's the result is, if you remember from what I said earlier, the cylinder mould uses fibres that are maybe twice as long as on a traditional Fourdrinier machine. Also, we can produce these natural whites with no optical brightness. Because the fibres are twice as long, it's a very stable product, and you're going to get as close to handmade paper as you're going to get. So they really are beautiful papers. This one has a slightly sculpted surface, so it's not smooth like the Arche 88, and it's not heavily textured like the Somerset watercolour or the Arche aquarelle. It's somewhere in between. So it's a little bit, I guess it sits in with the same sort of band as BFK Reeves does, but it's a slightly different sculptured surface to the BFK. But it's a pleasure to use. The resulting print on this paper is quite dynamic. The Canon Pro-300, obviously we're using the new matte black here, and the red cartridge presumably is involved in some of this area where the warmth is. But the result is a beautiful picture that's got bags of detail, fantastic tonal range, depth of colour, depth of tone, and I'm really impressed with it. So I'm been impressed with both of the Somerset papers that I've trialled in this video. So there you go. That's image number 4, Somerset Enhanced Velvet, and it's a picture called Catching the Light, Bamborough, taken up in Northumberland. Okay, so this is the final image of 4 Seasons in Print, Series 3, Episode 3, Winter. And this is a picture from, I've just got to look at the title. This is from Budapest, where I will be running my first workshop, official workshop there, back end of this year, probably November. There are already some people wanting to go on it, so if you do want to come to Budapest, let me know, because I might have to put a second one on in this first year. But anyway, this is from a trip, a recce trip. This was recce trip number 2, because I'll go 2 or 3 times, because I wouldn't feel comfortable taking people, say, to Venice unless I knew where I was going to take them. So because it takes so long to learn places, I have to go for 2 or 3 weeks, which is good because I get a trip away. Lovely. Bad because I have to pay for it. Not lovely. So anyway, this was recce trip number 2. And on recce trip number 1, I'd spotted a hotel that was opposite the Parliament building. And I rang them up and said, "Do your windows open?" And they said, "Yes." "Why?" I said, "Oh, nothing." No reason. So I said, "Can I book a room? But I want one of the rooms, one of these ones that are above your door, that's whatever, second floor up." So we worked out it was this room. Anyway, I got there and the windows did indeed open. And this was the day before we left. It was we were just about to go out to shoot, I think, the end of the day. And I'd look out the window and there was these lovely little clouds mooching along. And by using one of the Lee filter stoppers, I think it was the big stopper, I think I got a 2 or 3 minute exposure. So the clouds weren't moving terribly fast, but in 2 or 3 minutes you can see they've been rendered just moving a little bit. And obviously the water, instead of it rippling, it's been rendered flat. And there's this little boat sitting here quite patiently underneath the Parliament building. So it's just a pretty little shot of Parliament building, and lots of people have shot the Parliament building at Budapest. But I don't know how many have shot it from this bedroom window. I don't know how many have got it with these beautiful clouds that just add something to the top. And maybe, if you're going to be romantic, they start to hint at, life passing by and how many decisions have been made in this building over time and all that kind of stuff. So everything's moving on. The water with its smoothness, everything, the clouds, but this thing stays there and it'll still be there when I've gone and maybe when you've gone. But anyway, it's a simple little black and white shot, almost a head-on shot of the Parliament, but with the sky now taking up 2/3 of the picture because of the two important clouds, or that they're important to me anyway. And to sign off with, again, I've not gone for the really high D-Max Prestige II. I just wanted to show again how Platine Fibre Rag can handle these kind of pictures with ease. It's not the most dramatic high tonal range picture you're ever going to see, but it has got a range of tones. Whether they're kind of like mid-tones for black and white, I don't know. But the Platine Fibre Rag has handled it beautifully. The detail on the building is phenomenal. The range of tones looks beautiful. It's just a really nice clean print. And, you know, we've got this slight satin finish to the Platine Fibre Rag, which I really like. As a traditional photo paper, I think this is what you would use, you know. I remember when I used to do black and white film photography at college when I was younger, just a few years ago. And, you know, we used to print on paper and it had a slight speckle. And that's what this reminds me of. So every time I print on this, it reminds me of those things that we used to develop ourselves and print in the drums of Fixer and Developer on the black and white sheets. So that's it. So that's the final picture from this episode. I hope you've enjoyed them. Like I say, just a final word maybe about the printer. It's tricky doing good prints. There's some processes, you know, you need to make sure your colour management's right. If it's not, then it's a bit of a minefield. But if it is, then you need some things to make good prints. You need paper, and you need ink, and you need a print head that's going to do a good job. I don't lie. I'm dead honest when I say that it's a privilege to work with Canson Infinity. The prints, when I make prints on whichever printer, I'm always really happy when I look at them. You know, it's how I wanted my work to look. The different finishes, the different styles give me so much scope when I come to look at how I want to get my work down on paper. The printer that's made this series and the other series, the Pro-300 from Canon, bear in mind it lets me do all this with the papers I want to use and gives me results that are really incredible. So I can't speak highly enough of that little printer. The new Pro-1100 has got the same ink set now. So the old Pro-1000, the A2 printer, had the old matte black ink, let's say. The new matte black ink is denser. So you get more definition now where you've got sort of shadows and deeps. And the new Pro-1100, if you're looking for something like this, everything I've said in these series, all three of them, if you're thinking, wow, that's fantastic, it's a pity it's only A3+, well, if you go and get yourself the Pro-1100, you'll have exactly the same finishes as this with the same results, but you'll be able to go up to A2. So all they need to do now is bring out an A1 and everybody's happy. So that's it, I think. Thank you for watching, and I'll try and do another one in, you know, before the end of the year maybe. But for now, thank you very much and take care and enjoy the summer and happy snapping.